Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jai Vishnu Paramahamsa Parivrajik Jai Sutra Shata Shishimad His Divine Grace Bhakti A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnu Paramahamsa Parivrajik Jai Sutra Shata Shishimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Go Premanande. Jai Jai Shri Caitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Shri Caitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Shri Caitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Reading from Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, Adi-lila, Chapter 7, entitled Lord Chaitanya in 5 Features. Reading from text number 104. Tomara Vachana Shuni Judaya Shravana Tomara Madhuri Dekhi Judaya Nayana Tomara Your Vachana Speeches Shuni Hearing Judaya Very much satisfied Shravana Oral reception Tomara Your Madhuri Nectar Dekhi Seeing Judaya Satisfies Nayana Our eyes. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Dear Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they said, to tell you the truth, we are greatly pleased to hear your words, and furthermore, your bodily features are so pleasing that we feel extraordinary satisfaction in seeing you. Purport. In the Shastras it is said, Atha Shri Krishna Namadi Nabhavhed Grahyam Indriyai Sevan Mukhe Hijivadao Swayam Eva Spuratyada. One cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or His name, form, qualities, or paraphernalia. But if one renders service unto Him, the Lord reveals Himself. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. Here one can see the effect of the Mayavadi sannyasi's service toward Narayan. Because they offered a little respect to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and because they were pious and actually followed the philosophy, because they were pious and actually followed the austere rules and regulations of sannyas, they had some understanding of Vedanta philosophy, and by the grace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu they could appreciate that He was none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is endowed with all 6 opulences. One of these opulences is His beauty. By His extraordinarily beautiful bodily features, the Mayavadi sannyasis recognized Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Narayan Himself. He was not a farcical Narayan like the Daridra Narayans invented by so-called sannyasis. Om Namo Omajnana Timarandhasya Gyananjana Shalakya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare. So, sorry for those of you who are expecting Ajita to give class. He asked me to give class today. I was looking forward to his class as well. this is an amazing chapter that is one that Prabhupada, it was released even before the Caitanya Caritamrita was released as a single volume, and so it's a very special chapter. And my thoughts on this verse today is especially regarding the magnanimity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he's considered the most magnanimous incarnation of Krishna, that his causeless mercy and his mission of distributing love of God freely all over the world, all over the universe, is very special. And so I just had a few thoughts on this, and hopefully with your blessings, the blessings of the senior devotees, I can say a few things on this verse. So there's a few qualities, a few qualifications that we can see that what the Mayavadi sannyasis, although Mayavadis are often blasphemous or even offensive to the Lord through their philosophy, by saying that the Lord is formless, that the Lord is Maya. That's what Mayavadi means. Maya means the illusory energy, and Vadi means someone who creates a philosophy based on that. So basically there are people who claim that Krishna is a production of the illusory energy, that the illusory energy expands itself in many different forms, and one of those forms is Krishna. But so that's an offensive thing. It's an offensive philosophy, blasphemous philosophy. So often the Mayavadis are offensive to Krishna in that way. So it's not, we can analyze here, how did these Mayavadi sannyasis get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that through their association with him they became purified, they actually became Vaishnavas. So a few of the things that we can see, some of the qualifications they had: they offered a little service to the Lord when he arrived at their meeting place. He washed his feet outside the temple area, and then he sat down right next to where he washed his feet, which is not a usual place for someone to sit. It would be like someone sitting out there near the shoes. So the sannyasis, they invited him in to give him a proper seating place, out of respect, because they could immediately see by his qualities that he was a very advanced, personality, and also they recognized him to be a sannyasi of the same order as them, and so that was their first good fortune, that they happened to offer him some nice service. And so Krishna, so a few of the other qualifications that they've found that they have is that they also heard from the Lord. They inquired from him about why he's chanting the holy names of the Lord, and they were actually pleased with his explanation. They offered respects to the Lord. maybe it was inadvertently, maybe it was, actually Prabhupada says in the last purport that when they offered respects to him by saying Om Namo Narayana, and that's actually something they all would say to each other, considering each other to be Narayan. But actually Prabhupada says that they could tell just by understanding he was directly Narayan himself, whereas they were puffed up false Narayans, and they could understand that from his association, from hearing from him, and by seeing his qualities. So they by offering respects to him, it also mentions that they had some merit of austerity by following the austere rules and regulations of sannyas, and they had some understanding of philosophy. And so when they heard from the Lord, as it mentions that they became humble, and they inquired further, inquired submissively, and on top of all of that, they became attracted by his transcendental bodily features. So all of these combined, along with, especially with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's causeless mercy, his grace, that I would say is the key ingredient that by which they received the good fortune of his mercy, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually came for that purpose, to deliver all the souls. And so just got a few notes on each of these different qualifications that they had by offering service to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even a little bit of service to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's graciously accepted. It's said that even in Mayapur, the holy dam of Mayapur, even lying down to take rest is considered the same as lying down to offer obeisances, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so merciful. So as we know in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati. He says that even just offering a leaf of fruit, a flower, water, with love and devotion, he will accept it. So this is the nature of service to Krishna. When we do, what's in our capacity, Krishna will accept it. And what to speak of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the most magnanimous incarnation of Krishna, he accepts any small service offered. I've heard it said that when the Sankirtan party is happening, the holy, the kirtan, the holy name, the chanting, even just somebody waving or smiling or little dancing or chanting or hearing the kirtan party or appreciating the kirtan party, they all get a lot of spiritual benefit from that. Because that's the nature of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement, is to spread the mercy. And so that's, there's some really significant string of verses earlier on in this chapter which really describe that mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, the Panchatattva. So maybe in a minute I'll just read through a few of those verses, because we only get to hear the Caitanya Caritamrita classes twice a week, so it's good to have a little reminder of reorient ourselves with the chapter. So it also mentions that they had some good merit due to their austerities. austerity is something that that's mentioned a few times in the Bhagavad Gita. As like in Bhagavad Gita 4:28, it says, having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their possessions, and others by offering severe austerities. So it's a important, part of human life. Actually, in the Brahma Samhita, it says that human life is meant for austerity. Well, that's what Lord Brahma, when he heard the Vedas emanating from the flute of Lord Krishna at the time of creation, he heard the two syllables ta and pa, tapa, which is tapasya, which is austerities, which indicates that the meaning of human life is to voluntarily accept some discomfort, not to voluntarily accept discomfort in the name of progressing spiritually. Not necessarily that in and of itself we want to become very austere and not maintaining the body, things like that, but by voluntarily accepting a little austerity for the right purpose, for spiritual advancement. That's an essential part of human life. And also, the austerity is one of the qualities mentioned in the beginning of the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna is explaining the nature of the divine and demoniac beings, which are two categories of beings in this world. There's those who have many good qualities, especially following the orders of the Supreme Lord according to the Vedas, and so one of their good qualities is mentioned as being austerities, and in that description in the 16th chapter, they're described as being transcendental qualities belonging to godly men endowed with divine nature. So they are actually transcendental qualities when they're engaged in the Lord's service. A very significant thing for these impersonalists was that they became attracted to the Lord's transcendental, beautiful bodily features, which generally impersonalists, their whole philosophy is based on that the Lord doesn't have a transcendental, beautiful bodily feature, but here they are becoming attracted to the Lord's body. So that was quite significant in terms of their change of heart. So there's a little story in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 10th canto, the Krishna book. We hear about when Krishna and his brother Balaram and friends, they went to Mathura to confront Kamsa, and as they were entering Mathura, it describes that they came upon a hunchback woman. Her name was Kubja, and she was carrying sandalwood pulp, and so Krishna inquired from her. He said, "Oh, tall young woman." Krishna, it says that Krishna liked to joke around with her. So he says that he asked he inquired, "Where are you taking that sandalwood pulp?" And so Kubja explained that she was the maidservant of Kamsa, and every day she would carry the sandalwood pulp for the enjoyment of Kamsa. But immediately, Kubja, as she was describing that, she said that actually I've just realized that there's no one better fit for this sandalwood pulp than you two brothers, Krishna and Balaram. And she immediately started smearing the sandalwood pulp all over their bodies. And so that's an instance of how, you know, someone just becomes by attraction to the Lord's bodily feature, transcendental bodily features, they have an immediate change of heart. And so Krishna reciprocated with Kubja. He promised to go and visit her and fulfill all her desires. You know, that was her request, that he come and visit her. And so he did that. And actually, before he did that, he actually stood on her feet and lifted up her chin and turned her into a beautiful young woman. So, so another thing that's related to that story is Akrura. After visiting Kubja, Krishna went and visited Akrura to fulfill his promise to Akrura, because Akrura is he's famous as being one who achieved perfection by offering prayers to the Lord. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, around the same area as Akrura was actually taking Krishna to Mathura, Akrura offered a beautiful string of prayers to the Lord, and so after visiting Kubja, Krishna went to visit Akrura as well and reciprocate with him, and at his house Akrura worshipped the Lord very nicely and bathed his feet and offered more prayers, and Krishna reciprocated very nicely by explaining that Akrura was, you know, he regarded Akrura as his senior, and he also engaged Akrura in a very nice, important, special service of going to Hastinapur to bring back news of the Pandavas. So we can see how Krishna reciprocates with the offering of prayers in that way, and so that's exactly, you know, these sannyasis, they've offered prayers, they've offered respects to the Lord, and another qualification of these sannyasis is that it says they developed humility and taste from hearing the way that the Lord glorified the chanting of the holy name. They were actually very pleased with his explanation, even though they're attached to impersonalist philosophy. And it says that they became humble, somewhat humble. So it means that they realized the nature of what the Lord was saying, and generally it's, you know, we understand that Mayavadi sannyasis are somewhat puffed up with their acquisition of knowledge and memorizing all details of the Vedanta philosophy and being able to play with words and obscure things to favor their own impersonalist philosophy. But by hearing the Lord, they became humble and accepted his version. So after that, they inquired submissively. So this is exactly Krishna's instruction in Bhagavad Gita: Tadvidhi paripatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti tajgyanam gyananas tattvadarshana. That by inquiring submissively, approaching the spiritual master, rendering service with the right attitude, with humility and respect, that's the qualification to receive knowledge, and the self-realized person, the spiritual master, can impart that knowledge to you because they have darshan of the truth. They know the truth. They've seen the truth. So, so all of these different qualifications, it's explained actually that even just by performing one, there's 9 processes of bhakti. Even just by performing one of them, perfecting one of them, you can receive unlimited good fortune. You can receive success in all of them. So that's these sannyasis have in various ways they've come into contact with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and they've received his mercy, but the real key ingredient here is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's own mercy. Actually, it was if we go back a little, we hear that actually it was the Lord's plan. So I'll just read a string of verses here that sort of give us a little bit of a reminder of where we are in the chapter. And so it says, the characteristics of Krishna are understood to be a storehouse of transcendental love. Although that storehouse of love certainly came with Krishna when he was present, it was sealed. But when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came with his other associates of the Panchatattva, they broke the seal and plundered the storehouse to taste transcendental love of Krishna. The more they tasted it, the more their thirst for it grew. Sri Panchatattva themselves danced again and again, and thus made it easier to drink nectarian love of Godhead. They danced, cried, laughed, and chanted like madmen, and in this way they distributed love of Godhead. In distributing love of Godhead, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates did not consider who was a fit candidate and who was not, nor where such distribution should or should not take place. They made no conditions. Wherever they got the opportunity, the members of the Panchatattva distributed love of Godhead. Although the members of the Panchatattva plundered the storehouse of love of Godhead and ate and distributed its contents, there was no scarcity, for this wonderful storehouse is so complete that as the love is distributed, the supply increases hundreds of times. The flood of love of Godhead swelled in all directions, and thus young men, old men, women and children were all immersed in that inundation. The Krishna consciousness movement will inundate the entire world and drown everyone, whether one be a gentleman, a rogue, or even lame, invalid, or blind. When the 5 members of the Panchatattva saw the entire world drowned in love of Godhead and the seed of material enjoyment in the living entities completely destroyed, they all became exceedingly happy. The more the 5 members of the Panchatattva cause the rains of love of Godhead to fall, the more the inundation increases and spreads all over the world. The impersonalists, fruitive workers, false logicians, blasphemers, non-devotees, and lowest among the student community are very expert in avoiding the Krishna consciousness movement, and therefore the inundation of Krishna consciousness cannot touch them. Seeing that the Mayavadis and others were fleeing, Lord Chaitanya thought, I wanted everyone to be immersed in this inundation of love of Godhead, but some of them have escaped. Therefore, I shall devise a trick to drown them also. Thus, the Lord accepted the sannyas order of life after a full consideration. So, that gives us insight into Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's plan, that he knew that by accepting sannyas in that particular time and place, that accepting sannyas he would be taken more seriously for one, and he'd have the opportunity to preach to all sorts of people, even these people who we're generally trying to avoid the Krishna consciousness movement, the impersonalists, the false logicians, the fruitive workers. They're by their nature, they're people who are quite avoid to such things because of their ways of manipulating philosophy. And so this plan of Mahaprabhu clearly worked in this pastime here, where he's won the hearts of the Mayavadi sannyasis, and by immediately upon seeing him, they accepted him as one of their own. They said that you clearly have been initiated in the sannyas order, the line of Shankaracharya. So by that affiliation with him, they were willing to hear from him, and then they performed a little service and heard from him and accepted what he said. So all of these qualifications have, the key ingredient is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had this plan, and actually the particular pastime came about because he was staying at the house of Chandrasekharacharya and having lunch at the house of Tapana Mishra, and these devotees, they were very worried about the influence of the Mayavadi sannyasis in their area. So they requested, they desired Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to do something about it, and when a Brahmana came and invited the Lord to associate with the sannyasis at his house, the Lord accepted the offer, even though he generally wouldn't like to associate with such people, but because of the desire of the devotees and because of his causeless mercy, these are the real reasons why the Mayavadi sannyasis received the good fortune and of the grace of the Lord, and even they realized that themselves in text number 100. It says, "Dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what you have said is all true. Only one who is favored by fortune attains love of Godhead." So the sannyasis realize this themselves, that their real good fortune, amongst the various ways that they came into contact with the Lord and performed service for Him, the Lord is unlimitedly magnanimous, and Rupa Goswamis glorified the Lord in that way, and by the beautiful prayer, Namo Mahavananya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurata Vishaya Namaha, that Rupa Goswami is offering his obeisances to the Lord, that he's the most munificent, merciful incarnation of the Lord, who's distributing Krishna Prem, love of God, and he's Krishna himself appearing in a beautiful golden form. So these are some thoughts on this verse, and maybe someone else would like to share their realizations, Maharaj, or any comments or questions.
You spoke about tapasya. How can one be aware of pronouncing falsely, often causing more harm than good, we see?
Maybe Maharaj should have...
You spoke about tapasya in the class. How can one be aware of false renunciation in their spiritual life, causing more harm than good?
False renunciation is that at one's called Falgun by Indian, and one's called Yukta. Really, we have nothing to renounce because nothing belongs to us. So if we claim we're renouncing something, that's false. Just like the Prabhupada gave the example that a madman can walk into the bank and say, I renounce this bank. And everyone just kind of looks at it. What do you mean you renounce it? You didn't even have it. But similarly, any renunciation that's not connected to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is called prabhu. It's called false renunciation. And then there's yukta varagya, you're renouncing, but you utilize. That's actually when you utilize things in the service of the Lord. It's called yukta varagya. That's actually renunciating as far as yourself. You're not, but you're accepting on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you renounce as far as yourself, but you're accepting. And Prabhupada would sometimes say, just like the Mayavadis, they're pushing everything away. We're renouncing. But the Vaishnavas, they think, no, we take everything and we use it for Krishna. That's another thing.
Anything else? Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Caitanya Caritamrita ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Govinda.